Hello and welcome to Railroads of Old. I'm Benjamin, and the other day I walked into my local hobby shop and saw something new, something I hadn't seen before, namely this kit of a building from the American Old West, and it immediately caught my attention. It's in 28mm scale, and recently I've been building quite a lot of medieval models in 28mm scale. And I think it's really a great scale for combining both figures that are large enough that you can actually see what's going on, and buildings that are not too large but still quite detailed. So it really caught my eye. I've always been interested in the story narratives of the Old West, and the building looked quite fascinating. On the other side there's a shot of all the stuff coming along, not just the building but also barrels and buckets and animals and more, and it looked really interesting, apparently for a new for a game called Dead Man's Hand. I haven't really played it. I'm more of a builder than a gamer, but I had to pick it up. At the same time I found another kit, this one, a lot of additional details like boxes and crates and suitcases and wheels and barrels and axes and milk jugs, lots of useful stuff to detail your models and dioramas. So I bought that too. In this video I'll build this building and see what I can make out of it. So welcome. The kit is quite simple. It's basically 4 walls with the windows and door frames already cast in, and then a floor and a roof, and then you add another sort of half story on top with the false front. But I decided to do it a bit differently, namely cut open the sort of the roof of the lower floor in order to make sort of the building be more complete, and then just have the roof to be removable. I initially spray painted the whole thing a bone color, and then gave it some brown washes on top and some dark washes after that, dark brown, almost black washes, in order to create a nice brown color. And then after smoothing out the trims with a bit of polyfiller, a bit of spackle, then I painted the trim in a bone color as well. I painted the roof in much the same way, but added a number of shading in various colors on top, and then highlighted with some light gray and bone color on top as well, to give it a bit of variation. Now that the building is pretty much done, colored, weathered, and with a few basic colors, just the wood grain, the trim, and a lot of work on the roof, and I just painted the floors and the walls. Nothing too fancy inside, as I imagine it will be closed off most of the time. But now it's time for detailing it, and instead of looking at other modelers and see what they've done, or movies, I prefer to look at pictures from the real Old West for inspiration. So I found this image of the town of Corinne in Utah in 1869, which really inspired me for adding more detail to the building. Let's have a closer look. Have a look at this hardware store here. I really like the sign saying hardware, a little extra sign saying tin shop underneath, supported by this pole, and that seems to be a bucket on top, perhaps to protect the top of the timber, or perhaps just to show that here's hardware. And there's also a bit of clutter out in front. It really is a tent building. It seems like more like a tent, but I think the sign is really neat, so I'll copy that for my building. In my bits box I found a bit of wood left over from other building kits, laser cut kits. I think they're just the right size to be the pole outside the building. But this does pose a problem because, well, you can't really place it in the middle of nothing. It'll eventually fall off or break when you handle the building. So instead I found some wood, some 3mm, I think it is, 3mm plywood. Yes, it is. And for some reason it was exactly the same width as the building, 10 centimeters, or probably around 4 inches. So I thought, why not use that for as a base for a small diorama? And it seems like all the buildings from Dead Man's Hand series are the same width, so I can use more of this wood to make small dioramas to be placed next to each other. So I cut out a piece and it fits, as you can see, very nice. A bit of room in the back for some weeds or clutter or something like that. And then room in the front to place the boardwalk, and also room for placing this pole and the sign and more in front. On my PC I used the open source software GIMP to create a sign that looked pretty much like the original one from Corinne. Let's have a look at that. I couldn't completely match the font, but I think it got relatively close, at least good enough. It's difficult to see in a black and white painting, but it doesn't really look black to me. I think it was some color of some sort, brown or red or blue or green, something like that. But I chose red to give a good contrast to the building, and eventually I'll weather it, of course. I also made a smaller sign for the tin shop that I'll hang underneath. But now I think I'll build up the framework for the sign. I think it'll look really nice, something like this, sitting here so everyone can see here's a hardware shop. One of the great things about using real-life photos is that if the quality is good enough, you can actually zoom in and get most of the details, so you don't have to make too much up. As you can see here on the hardware sign, you can actually just make out there 2 bars going into the building, whereupon the sign has set. So in that way, it's easy just to copy that. So I did just that, making a pole for the sign, or for the holding the whole thing, and then a little extra piece here, and then cut some wood I found in my bits box, like this. And then the idea is to place the sign on top, but I think I'll assemble it first and then give it some paint and weathering. So now everything is pretty much done. The building is stuck to its base plate, and I made the foundation for the sign here, and then I created some extra tidbits, a scythe, a saw, and a pickaxe, and a sickle as well. See, here it is. And I painted it to look like they were new, and think I'll stick them on the facade here, just like on the old photo. After it was a bit of a challenge painting them so they looked like new, especially well, many of us are used to weathering things quite heavily, so it's quite a challenge creating new stuff. I also found a little wheelbarrow. All of them are from tabletop games, I think, and are wonderful models. I also prepared the little barrel, or the little bucket from that came with the kit, in order to place on top of this signpost, just like on the photos. And now to put it all together and make it all into a little diorama, there's room for a little bit of weed in the back and some street in the front, with the boardwalk there as well. After adding some matte varnish to the sign to protect it, I put on some weathering powder in order to tone down the colors. I used two colors, first a light brown and then a darker brown on top to really make the sign appear faded. Then I applied some watered down PVA glue to the base in order to put some sand and weeds on top. I like to use real dirt that I sift to make it finer. I dry it in the oven as well to make it really dry and to kill any living things that might be in it. As you can see, I like to use a large container so I can pour the excess off immediately back down into the container. Finally, it was just a matter of gluing everything together. First a little tin sign, and then I made a chimney from some plastic rod and painted and weathered it and added some rust running down the roof. And then finally I could photograph the diorama with a few more details, the bucket on top, and a bit of supports for the pole and a stone to keep it in place, just like on the original image from Utah. And here's how it looks with the roof off. I can always add more detailing later with the roof on. And finally the diorama, tiny diorama from the front. It's been a lot of fun building. I look forward to building one of the two-story buildings and perhaps altering, transforming it a bit to make it my own and adding more buildings to create a whole street. Thanks for watching so far. If you liked what you saw and heard, please give the video a like and perhaps subscribe to Railroads of Old to follow for more videos. Thanks for now.